Hey, I'm Tim from the band Jack Harlon and the Dead Crows. We're a Melbourne fuzz-based psychedelic band, and we have a new album coming out called Hail to the Underground, which is a collection of heavy renditions of some of the best underground bands that have been around in history.
In history, indeed, Tim. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah, cheers, brother. Cheers.
No worries. As you mentioned, Jack Harlon and the Dead Crows release your third album, Hail to the Underground. I'll say today because the interview's coming out tomorrow. So today, February the 17th. So how are you feeling about it?
Pretty stoked, man. It's been a long time coming. Like I recorded this and finished it well over a year ago, like a year and a couple of months. So it's been a long year of waiting for it to finally come out. So stoked as, man. Very stoked.
I suppose it's being the fact that they're not actually your creations per se, like it wouldn't be as hard to sit on them. Like if there were songs that you'd written that you want to get out the world, sitting on them for that long would be like, fuck, I gotta get it out. But it wouldn't sort of, yours wouldn't really have that effect, would it? As much.
Yeah. It is a bit like that. Yeah, if they were originals, I'd be like, man, what I was trying to say a year ago, hurry up and get it
the
out.
World's changing, come on.
Yeah, man.
It's an interesting album, mate, in the sense that it is a collection of covers from older, less established bands. So what gave you the idea to do that?
So it really started in lockdown when I was recording our second album, Magnetic Ridge, and towards the end of that process, well, I'm on the computer that I'm on now, and it was just slowly disintegrating. Like there was one point where I nearly lost the whole hard drive, I nearly lost the whole album. So I thought, okay, I've got to get a new computer, a new whole audio workspace, which is the one there to the left of me. And naturally, when you get a new audio setup, you want to test it out. So I just started going through songs that I love and trying to make them as heavy as possible. And then I thought, oh man, there's enough here that I should just put an album out. And yeah, like as time went on, like I did a few carbon copy sort of covers at the start just to test it out. And then I was finding like the more I'd record, the more I'd want to add all these bits in. So eventually I'm adding all of these parts that aren't in the original songs. And I thought, oh, half of this record is original. So I might as well.
They should be paying your royalties.
Yeah, ideally.
So just to clarify here, mate, like I know a lot of people, when they hear the term heavy, they think like screaming vocals and like full on sludge. But when you say you've made it a bit heavier, you mean like done in your own fuzzy sort of style, hey?
Yeah, just more explosive. Like, I mean, our EP in our early days was like very doom. Like we were just doom drone, like real sort of 90s doom based. And then it got a bit less doomy and a bit more crunchy. And I mean, this album, it's by no means a doom record at all. It's just, I think, everything other than the doom side that's heavy. It's just like the loudest we could make everything, the most like blown out we can make the drums. It's all the yeah, everything but but our typical doom.
And you actually let fans contribute by encouraging them to send you suggestions. So how many did you get, bro? Did you get a shitload?
We did, yeah. We actually had a good response. It was like 3 or 4 songs in that I was recording it. I sort of put it out to the community because it was still lockdown. I was like, hey, well, I don't know if we're going to put this out, but is there any songs that you want to hear Harlon-ified, as we said? And then, yeah, we got a good response and, yeah, followed up on those. So, yeah, feels like it's a bit of a community effort, this band, more so than just us with the other records.
Yeah, it's nice to get people involved. And was there any suggestions that were just too out there for you to consider?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, there were some wild ones. We had a few people recommending David Bowie songs, like probably the only one that comes to mind is like Moon Age Daydream. And I had a listen, and yeah, it was a bit too full on.
Too much hard work.
Yeah, there was nothing that was too sort of, I don't know, wimpy or out of our depth. It was just more, yeah, these big high budget recording records people wanted us. I thought, nah, this is a bedroom project. So yeah, keep it bedroom.
Oh, and how did you narrow it down to the final 8 songs? Or did you go by popularity? Like if 50 people sent you one song, you'd do that? Or did you sort of still have your own selection process?
Yeah, well, yeah, our own selection process. I think we ended up tracking about like 12 of them or so and sort of narrowed it down from there. But like the technological side forced my hand a bit. When I first put this computer together, the first cover I did was a Radiohead cover, believe it or not, of Lucky, which is this sort of Western song that I thought that could be tough as. And I just hadn't really got all my plugins set up and hadn't got the computer set up. So it's actually, I haven't been able to export it off that thing. It's sort of locked in this cage, the audio workstation. So, I mean, that kind of thing forced my hand. Like we couldn't put that on the record because there's just no way to get it off there. But yeah, we carved a few down.
Yeah, sure.
And, yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, myself included, bro, that sort of don't really understand the process between changing an original. So basically, like you've got someone else's song. How do you make it your own? Like, do you just rewrite certain bits? You sort of play along by feel and add what you think? Like, is there a process?
Yeah, well, it's real subtractive, man. Like it's the only songs that ended up on the record were kind of ones that I was really opinionated should be changed in certain ways. Like for example, the recording quality in a lot of the 80s ones was just really thin, you know, that early era where synth and MIDI drums were coming in, and like the whole CBGB sounds where the snare is paper thin. Like there was a lot of those where I thought, man, if that song was just put through some modern sort of recording, that would be unreal. So that's sort of how we approached the whole thing, just subtractively, like what would you make better? Obviously I wouldn't be comfortable putting out a song that sounded to me worse than the original, so they're the ones that made the cut.
Good call. So which ones were the most fun for you to do, bro?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. Probably there's a song by Butthole Surfers on there, Dust Devil, where they, back in the 90s, if you look up live clips of them, the song really goes for about 4 minutes, but live they would just put the audience through about 7 minutes of this repeating beat and just mess with these laser sounds over the top of it. So I was like, man, I got to do my own version of that and just, yeah, go through it. So that was heaps of fun. Just, I think if you listen closely in that song, there's me just ranting about like, I'm a cowboy, come on, and stuff. It's just
in the zone, brother. In the zone.
Yeah. So that was one of my faves. Yeah.
And have you actually sent like your versions of any of the songs to the original artists to see what they think?
Well, no, like haven't heard anything from the original artists other than God, My Pal. That's they're a band from Melbourne that blew up in the 80s when they're all teenagers, and their singer is still getting around. Joel Silvershire, he's still getting around the burbs. Like you'll see him at pubs. He plays the odd gig. He played with I think Earthless recently when they came.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my friends works at a bar that he frequents, and I got a message one day and he goes, "Oh mate, the singer from God's here. I'm going to tell him that you covered his song." And I was like, "Oh God, okay." And he said, "But got the seal of approval." So whether that means he just gave it a thumbs up or he was stoked, I don't know. But that's the only band that so far that's given a response. So cool with that.
I had a similar thing like that happen. I was interviewing his name's just fucking slipped me from the Ramones, CJ Ramone. And I asked him if he'd heard Friends of Rom's song, Joe Ramone was in a fucking good band, but he was a cunt.
Yeah.
Should have seen the look on his face. I played it to him and he's gone, yeah, that's pretty much all about right.
That's all you want, man. As long as they just go, yeah, that's good enough.
That'll do.
Job done.
You're supposed to be on the road right now, actually, with 1,000 mods, mate, but that had to be postponed to a medical emergency. So have you heard how old mate is? Is he doing all right?
Yeah, we haven't heard any updates yet. We I think we know about as much as everyone knows. Like we heard on Tuesday that he was going in to the hospital or whatever, but yeah, haven't heard much since then. I don't know if he's got how long the recovery time is, but yeah, I mean, we're happy to postpone that as long as he needs. It's yeah, you got to put health over music sometimes. So.
There was also a couple of festival dates in there as well, mate, at Flipping the Bird in Frankston and Spliffs and Riffs Festival. So you're still doing those ones?
Yeah, so they're all ahead. That's sort of the redeeming thing of these shows being cancelled is we're going back to Sydney anyway, and we're playing Melbourne anyway on the same tour. And yeah, so all the other dates are still going ahead other than the 1,000 Mods ones. Perth, that's the first time I've ever been to Perth. Like, just even personally, I've never been to Perth.
Beautiful place, mate. Beautiful place. It's so far away.
Yeah, it's like another country, eh?
It is, man. It takes longer to fly there than it does to fly to fucking Japan, pretty much.
Yeah, amen. And yeah, Flipping the Bird still going ahead. That's like next weekend, I think.
Not far maybe. At all, yeah.
Yeah, which I've never been to Flipping the Bird, but I've heard about the crazy shit that goes on there. So
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, bro. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Hail to the Underground is out today, February the 17th, and I've heard a few tracks from it, and she's very interesting production, mate, in an enjoyable way. So get yourselves amongst it.
Yeah, cheers, man. Cheers.